Have you ever felt stuck in a loop of self-doubt, knowing you're capable of more, but feeling too afraid to take the action? What if I told you that the only thing holding you back from your next level of success is your own mindset? Today, I'm going to show you just how to break free from self-doubt and step into the bold action that leads to real success. But before I start, let me introduce myself for a second. For all of you who are new to me, I am Stephanie Zima, and I help ambitious women break free from fear, self-doubt, and self-sabotage so they can unlock their full potential. I used to feel so overwhelmed, stuck, and frustrated all the time with my life and everything in between. I was always angry at my boss, angry at my children, angry at my upline, and worst off, I felt so guilty about it because I knew that it wasn't right to unleash myself on others. When my mother got diagnosed with cancer, I realized very quickly just how short life can be and what would happen when it's out of the sudden over. That's when the Walk It Free movement actually got started. It was out of my own journey to take my life by its horns and eliminate all the toxicity, body, mind, and soul, and go after every single thing that I've ever wanted. I am crazy passionate about freeing as many women as I possibly can because all our kids need stable mothers and happy and healthy relationships. But we are here because you want to know exactly how to break free from self-sabotage and how to actually take the action. In today's video, we are going to dive into how to overcome self-doubt and take action like a confident woman you are meant to be. All right, so let's dive straight into the topic. What really is self-doubt? Have you asked yourself that question before? Self-doubt is that nagging voice that is not just like that's inside of you saying you are not good enough, right? And that's preventing you from taking the action. So self-doubt, when you are struggling with self-doubt, and so many of us actually do, okay? I mean, if you think you are by yourself, you are absolutely not alone. Let me tell you, you are not alone. Self-doubt is with everyone, and it catapults you right into your fight, flight, and freeze response. The parasympathetic nervous system lets you act act as follows. Okay, so here, when you freeze, and everyone is different, just so you know, okay, when you freeze, you have a complete shutdown. When you fight, you may be angry at your boss, your upline, your husband, your kids, like you lash out all the time, you're raging almost, right? When your parasympathetic nervous system goes into flight mode, you're numbing out. You're maybe watching and binging Netflix, or you're overworking even. Sometimes, I catch myself, I work and work and work and work. And it's just to ease that feeling that I have inside of me, what stems from a possible self-doubt, okay? There's differences between just working because you're trying to meet a goal deadline and working because you're trying to ease a pain that you have. So why is that all happening, right? Why are we having this parasympathetic nervous system response to us trying to work a business, trying to achieve something, right? It's because every one of us has core wounds. So core wounds need to actually be healed. And you know what? Every one of us has core wounds. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Every single one of us has core wounds. They are literally almost not avoidable. I mean, and it's not to blame anybody. When we talk trauma, everyone has trauma, so don't even think you're any much different. Everyone has these core wounds, right? And what they are deep emotional injuries that originate from past experiences, maybe in our childhood. And they are just shaping how we see ourselves and how we see others in this world. Okay? These wounds can often result, like I said, from trauma, from abandonment possibly, from betrayal. And by the way, when I talk about abandonment, this is not you are being left alone because your parents went on vacation kind of thing. Abandonment can be emotional abandonment. So, for example, we are often abandoning our own children right now because we are on social media, just mindlessly scrolling, not realizing how this how this is perceived by our children. Okay, so that's how simple abandonment trauma can come up with. Or maybe you are preoccupied in your thoughts because you're struggling trying to figure out how you're going to pay a bill, and then in fact our kids are looking at us and figuring like, she's never looking at me, like I must not be good, right? And maybe that is something that you have been experiencing and have formed an abandonment trauma without you even recognizing that that is actually what it is. We can have betrayal traumas. We can have emotional pain from key relationships, right? Maybe it's been a spouse. Maybe it's your parents. Maybe it's a caregiver. Maybe it's a sibling. There's a lot of things that can happen in our past that make us form a belief about ourselves and that make us act in certain ways. They often manifest in pattern of behavior, okay? So these core wounds will show up sometime when, and they will show up in the way how you behave, okay? In your thoughts and in your emotions. And, what happens is when you identify them, when you're aware that you have core wounds, and you see them by the way how you show up in your business, in your life, with your children, over and over in your entire life, really, if you can see the patterns that are happening, that's when you can start healing them, okay? And that's how you can then start working with them. And that is what you really need to do. So how to heal them? I'm going to give you some examples. Number one, the wound of abandonment. Okay, I've briefly talked about this already. It's a fear of being left alone or rejected, difficulty trusting others, for example, and a constant seeking of validation or attention. That, like, if you fear rejection, if you have difficulty trusting others, if you are seeking validation and attention, so you need somebody that always tells you good job, or the attagirl, or something, that is coming from an abandonment wound. And the healing steps that you can take from there would be to recognize when these feelings of abandonment arise, first and foremost, and then trace them back to your past experiences. Where are they coming from? Why were they there? How is this happening? And when you have that identified, that's when you start practicing self-love. You learn to rely on your own love and approval rather than seeking it from others. Okay? And then the third step here to overcome that would be to surround yourself with people who support and validate you and practice setting healthy boundaries. I'm going to give you an example. When I started my sales job in the logistics industry, I was always wanting to get feedback from other people, feedback. And I didn't get the feedback. And it started getting me really nervous. I started having the fear of losing a job, losing this, losing that. It was just crazy. And I did the very same thing. I had to think about, where was that coming from? Oh, that's right. I have abandonment trauma, right? Okay, how can I fix this? Now I need to validate and draw the security out of myself. So what I did is I started realizing, okay, this is what I'm doing. This is what I'm supposed to be doing. This is how much time I'm spending on it. And is that okay? And when you start realizing that that is okay, that's when you start being able to draw the confidence from on yourself, right? And I would always say to my boss, like, if you need me to do something else, please let me know. Okay. And from that moment on, that was my decision, that was all I needed to do. If she would want me to do something different, then that's what she would need to do, right? She would need to tell me that something is happening. Other than that, I would say to myself, I did a great job. I've done all my key performing indicators. I've done all of the things. I'm good. So I was able to self-soothe myself and my fears through that. The same as in my business, right? When I think too big, or when I think there's not enough, or, all these, this is fluent, you guys. This is not something that you master once and then it goes. No, every level, every time you level up, you are going to find the same things over and over. These traumas are never going to go away. They are always going to be there, but the way how you respond to them is going to be much, much, much different. Okay. The second would be wound of rejection. Symptoms here would be the fear of not being accepted. Okay. Difficulty with self-esteem and tendency to withdraw or self-sabotage to avoid the rejection. So if you're running your business and you are not reaching out because you're afraid that people are going to say no to you, or you're afraid that they're not going to accept you when you are saying you're selling something, okay, that would be the wound of rejection. If you have been rejected in the past, that's a really deep one to overcome, okay? How do you overcome this? Your healing step would be to challenge your negative beliefs. So you have to reframe thoughts like, I am not good enough, or people won't like me, okay? You have to reframe those things. When you think people don't like me, you need to also realize that if you are really standing behind your opportunity, the things that you're selling, if you think this is a good idea because X, Y, and Z, then are you going to be okay if somebody says no, right? They always say you're supposed to marry the process and divorce the outcome. What that means is that you need to stand behind the work you're doing. And then you are going to be okay if somebody says no, because that is not for them. Your products are not for them. Your hair shampoo is not for them. Your skincare is not for them. It doesn't matter. It's okay. But you like it and you are doing the thing and you are okay with that. Through that, you're building the confidence, right? When you have your own strength, you are embracing your uniqueness, you are embracing who you are leveling up your self-esteem. You start realizing that you are coming from a good spot. You are not trying to harass anybody. You're a good person, right? When you have that image about yourself, right? Your authenticity, you're stepping into your authenticity. You are starting to build the confidence and you are going to be overcoming that rejection fear. When you embrace your vulnerability, okay, you allow yourself to be who you are, that's when you are going to be okay if somebody says no, because you love yourself for who you are right now, all the time, okay? And it's actually very freeing, you guys. This is why when I say walk it free, this is part of it. It's part of finding your authenticity, finding your vulnerability. And it's something that you really need to stand firm in your values, in your mission, in your vision, in what you want to do, what you're here for, to become in this world, and business, your job or your business that you're running is parts of it. It's not all of it. You're not doing it just for the money. You're doing it for other things also, because that is who you are. Maybe you are an entrepreneur mindset and that's who you are. So there's no shame in being an entrepreneur and having an opportunity. Okay. I feel like people are only having shame about it because if they're feeling that they're needing to get money for something. But at the same time, why shouldn't you get money for something that you're working, right? If you're working, you should get paid. If you are helping somebody, you should get paid. If you are serving somebody, you should get paid. I mean, nobody's questioning anybody else who's getting paid for a service they're providing. If you are providing a service, you should get paid, okay? You're not trying to benefit by some weird kind of means or anything. You are providing a service, and it's money mindset that needs to be reevaluated if you have trouble with that. But if you are in touch with your authenticity, your mission, vision, values, and you're vulnerable about why you're doing the things and what you're really passionate about, and you are true to yourself, you are starting to overcome that fear of rejection very, very easily. Number 3 would be the wound of betrayal, okay? The wound of betrayal is when you basically distrust others, when you're holding grudges, when you're fearing to be hurt again by somebody, and the emotional walls are up to protect yourself. The way how you overcome the wound of betrayal is by forgiveness. That's number 1, forgiveness, understanding that holding on to bitterness actually only hurts you because the others don't care. right? For them, it doesn't matter. They won't matter. So when you forgive them, it's actually helping you. Okay. And that was something that I needed to get right for a long time. There were a lot of people that had done me wrong in the past. And I was holding on to this. And people would always say, well, you're holding on to this. And I'm like, I'm not holding on to this anymore. They can all do whatever they want to do, but I get to choose what I want to do and whether or not I want to spend time with them, because I love me and I love my energy and I love my peace and I love the things that are happening, right? And I don't want them to cross path in any of that anymore, right? So it's kind of like, you got to really be true in your convictions, and then you forgive the others for what they do because you want it for yourself. Rebuilding trust, you can sometimes gradually rebuild the trust with small steps of vulnerability. Okay, you have to have like just small tiny steps, and then good boundaries, by the way, and you then start regaining some of that trust back. Okay. And letting go of control is the third part of healing for the wound of betrayal. That would be understanding that you just cannot control everybody. Okay, you cannot. Sometimes there are people in your world that you would love for them to show up differently, but they just don't. And you just accept that. And when you accept that, you start understanding that they are maybe not coming from a bad part of you, or maybe they didn't want to do you any harm, but maybe they just couldn't help themselves. Maybe they just couldn't do anything different. 4 would be the wound of shame. Okay. Shame is something we don't want to talk about. We don't want to talk about it. Okay. Feeling unworthy of defective. Okay. We see in ourselves, when we feel shame, we are seeing ourselves as defective. Constant self-criticism. We are horrible, right? And fear of being exposed or judged. That is probably the worst wound there is, because if you're feeling that bad and unworthy of yourself, and you're constantly worried somebody is going to criticize you, and your fear of being exposed or judged when you're doing something wrong, that can be really what's the right word for it? Deliberating? No, can be disruptive. Okay, can be disruptive. Here you go. It's my German language that comes through again. All right. The healing steps when you experience shame would be to practice self-compassion, treating yourself with the same kindness and understanding you would offer a friend. See, you would never be the way how you treat yourself to a friend. You are much nicer to other people than you are to yourself, right? And when you pay attention to your inner self-talk, you start realizing just how much you are actually talking down on yourself. You're outright bullying yourself. So pay attention to that a little bit. Challenge your inner critic. So when you identify what it is that you're saying, you need to also reframe those self-critical thoughts. So when you are saying, for example, you're not worth it because, really challenge that and ask yourself, is that true? Am I really not going to be okay? Like, am I really that bad? Or is it just something that I think I am bad because I'm afraid of being judged? Okay. And accept your imperfections, right? I mean, we have these harsh ideas about ourselves, but when you look at babies, for example, babies are never expected to run a marathon right away. They are so cute, just laying there, and they're just kind of like, ooh, when they coo and caw, like they're like, everybody is like in awe about them. Then they're rolling over small little baby steps, right? That's why they're called baby steps. And then they are actually lifting ahead, and they're like scooching on that tummy a little bit. Then eventually start crawling. Eventually they start walking and then running, but not without stumbling and falling down many times. So why are we expecting ourselves to be perfect? Why? We are not like that, okay? We are humans, and it's okay to be imperfect. Honestly, if you show up in business, for example, imperfect, I almost think it's more endearing to people than if you are perfect. Because, see, here's the thing. Often you are missing out on sales because your clients, your potential clients may think like, oh, wow, I can't do what she does. That happened to me a lot. I had so many business builders before, and a lot of times they were like, I can't do what you do. And I'm like, you don't have to do what I do, right? But saying something and seeing something is a whole different story. So don't worry so much about being perfect. It really doesn't matter. Now, in parenting, for example, sometimes you think and have the pressure that you need to be this perfect parent that always has everything right. I've given up on that. I tell my kids, I have no clue what I'm doing. I'm just trying to do right by you. I'm just trying to do better than what happened to me. I'm just trying, and I think every parent is trying to do that. And I'm seeking their advice sometimes. I'm asking my kids, I'm saying, hey, mom's been trying to do this. Is this something that did that work for you? Does it not work for you? How do you feel about it? Like, I want their feedback. I welcome their feedback. And yes, it's a little bit vulnerable to have to ask feedback and to be open to hearing what they may have to say. But I'm telling you, it's so worth it to have those conversations and allow to be imperfect, because it also allows them to not be perfect. And therefore, the shame wound that many of us have, right? I mean, Brene Brown says it's like the 1,000,000 pound or 100-pound shield that you're holding up, right? The shame, it's crushing people. Shame is actually the emotion that crushes almost every dream there is. So try to work on that if that is you. Now, number 5 would be the wound of injustice, feeling like it's unfair, a sense of entitlement or anger, and constantly seeking control to make things right. Now, I didn't realize this until I started doing that research on this video now, that was something that I ended up having too. Back then, when I was so angry at my upline, when, I felt like nobody was helping me, when I felt like nobody was there, I mean, it was just always so, something. And I started realizing that was what it was. It was a wound of injustice. I didn't feel that I got what I deserved, what I thought I deserved. But healing this was recognizing that life just isn't fair all the time, okay? I didn't have an upline that was there for me. I didn't have a second upline that was willing to connect with me on my level. And, I don't want to say she wasn't willing to connect. She was, but we just personality wise just didn't mesh, and there was a lot of pressure involved. So, that happens sometimes. She's a wonderful person. I mean, it just happens sometimes that energies just won't mesh, okay? There's no right or wrong in any of this. So recognizing that life is just sometimes not fair, that's okay. Just accept it as just as is, okay? This is how it is. When you cultivate gratitude, when you are practicing gratitude, you are starting to switch from scarcity to abundance. So you're focusing on the things that you currently have that are going good for you, that are amazing, instead of always thinking about the things that you don't have and keeping you stuck in that low vibing energy that is angry and frustrated and, this and this. And healing this, you find peace in surrender, okay? When you just surrender and say, you know what? I'm just going to let go of being right all the time. I'm just going to, see and trust that this will unfold somehow how it should, okay? Then you see peace right now. And you know how they say, when you start working, you're not supposed to wait until you get there and then you feel peace. You're supposed to have the energy right now. Building a business takes a long time. There's so many different moving pieces, especially in the cold market, right? You're not always getting everything right, but you still got to feel good in the moment to be able to make that work. You have to, otherwise you're not going to make it happen. So finding peace in the process and surrendering and just trusting that it's all going to work out as long as you're going to keep going, that's how it's going to make that happen. All right. So, wound of loss or grief is number 6, right? Number 6 would be the wound of loss or grief. The symptoms here, if you're having and dealing with this, is the difficulty of letting go of your past losses, feeling emotionally numb, or avoiding new attachments to protect further pain. This does not have to be somebody dying. This can simply be you actually are afraid to reach out to people and forming new connections because you have been disappointed so many times. Okay, that could really be an issue if you're dealing with grief, right? You don't want to get hurt all the time. You don't want to get left all the time. Like, let's say you built a team and they left, and you built a team and they left. You're not going to do it a third time, maybe, okay? Unless you're dealing with that wound of loss or grief. And to do that is you need to fully allow yourself to grieve, right? Feel the pain without suppression. Like, do not numb it. Just literally sit with that pain, cry it all out, like let it flow. This works for any kind of grief, by the way, whether or not you just have a loss or you have actually somebody dying or somebody is no longer wanting to spend time with you or you are in a divorce. Every single time you feel these emotions coming up, what you need to do is you need to picture yourself like in the sky, and the clouds are just going to come through. So this wave of emotion is going to come over you. You're just going to feel it. You're going to process it. You're going to cry. And then it's just going to pass through you. And that feeling will go away. It will go away. You will not have this feeling anymore. So that's how you process grief fully. You have to honor your past. Remember that, remember and cherish what was lost, but don't let it define your present. Okay, this was then, this was in your past, and now you're moving on to the future. And you are embracing new things. When you are opening your heart to the new possibilities, you are actually letting healing come in. So this was then, this is what you had dealing with. You are here, you're processing your emotion, and now you're getting excited about all the new possibilities, because when one door closes, another one opens all the time. That's just the law of the universe, right? This is how it happens. So, like I said, I was dealing with a lot of abandonment wounds. They hit every single time when someone ghosted me, or when somebody didn't respond, or when my kids didn't listen, for example. Like even as a parent, every single time my kids didn't listen, I would like get irritated. And not because they didn't listen, it was deeper. Somehow I felt it was deeper. And it started dawning on me that it was actually the abandonment wound that was being triggered in me, and that created this strong emotional response for me. Okay, it was this really strong emotional response. And I would try to make that go away with my overeating, and I try to make that go away with like binging Netflix, and I would try to distract myself from the pain. But all of that numbing and distracting and getting away from it really doesn't make anything much better. Okay, it doesn't. You have to heal that wound. You have to become aware of it, and you have to get through this. Okay, so how does self-doubt hold you back? Now you know all the wounds, right? So how does self-doubt actually hold you back? Your consequences in staying in self-doubt is pretty significant. Okay, when you give self-doubt, when you give in to self-doubt, you are avoiding to take the risks, and you stay in your comfort zone, and you miss opportunity for growth. Okay, you're just going to stay stuck. And we are all here because we don't want to stay stuck. So what you got to do is you got to ask yourself how it affects areas of your life. Like being stuck, what exactly is happening to your health? What exactly is happening to your business? What exactly is happening to your relationships? How is this helping you or not? How is it hurting you? Okay, really get clear on that. If you're wanting to work, for example, in your online business, but you don't allow self-doubt to stop you from reaching out, like if you don't reach out because self-doubt stops you all the time, you are losing money. You're losing money that could alleviate some of the pains you actually are having. Self-doubt could, let you prevent your weight loss, because you are letting self-doubt win, and so therefore you keep overeating, when in fact you could stop the overeating by just adjusting your mindset. Okay, so here's what you need to do. So I love telling people what to do. That's why I'm a mentor. Step number 1, okay? Acknowledge the doubt. Just become aware, own it, own it, own it. Taking responsibility for what's happening in your life is the number one key, okay? It is so important because you cannot change something that you are not aware of. You have to be aware of it to be able to change it. Owning it only allows you to change it. You cannot change it if you do not own it, okay? You have to own it. No matter how uncomfortable it is, you have to own it. You don't have to tell everybody about it. This is why I also like one-on-one sessions in my mentorship, because people don't want to talk about it. They don't want to tell everybody that, hey, you know, hello, I'm dealing with shame. Hello, I've got this issue. People don't want to say that, but they need help. Okay, they need help. So that's why my mentorship is one-on-one, because you need help. You need sometimes help to talk about it. You need to find ways on how to overcome it. And when you are trying to do it by yourself, you have blind spots that you may not see. Okay, so that's why a mentor, a coach that does one-on-one and that can actually help you with those kind of feelings is actually really important. Okay, so you have to first own that. Then you have to figure out, is it doubt-based? Is there a belief issue? Or is it in fact actually fear or a core wound? Maybe you don't believe in your business or in your products or, you know, anything like that. Then you can just learn a little bit more about that and deal with that. Or maybe it's actually fear. And if it's fear, you got to deal with that. Okay, so try to really pinpoint which one is it. When you know and are aware of your doubt, next step number 2, would be to reframe it. You have to then reframe your doubt. How do you do that? Instead of thinking, I'm not good enough, ask yourself, what's the worst thing that could happen? What can I learn from it? Always reflect. What can I learn? What's the worst thing that can happen? See, in This Is Us, maybe some of you saw that show. In This Is Us, they always played this game, worst case scenario. Have you heard that? If you drop it in the comments if you have. I like that game because it's like literally plays into this worst case scenario. What's the worst case scenario? If somebody doesn't answer you, what's the worst case scenario? Are you going to die? Are you going to die if they not answer? Are you going to die if they say no to your product? No, you're not, okay? So when you start recognizing that and you start reframing your thoughts with something that's real, you start eliminating some of that fear, because it just becomes aware that you're not going to die. So it's really like you play a little game with yourself. It's almost like imagine the Super Mario game, right? Where you have every level and then there's monsters coming from all sides and you jump in, you shooting some and you're jumping over and, you know, you get into the next level. That's really how it is. So at every level, wherever you are right now, there's something that's going to come, you know, the raptors, I call them the raptors, right? From Jurassic Park. But, you know, picture whatever monster is coming at you. That's your doubt. That's your fear. That's your, you know, thing. Those are just the monsters. So if you gamify it, it becomes actually kind of fun, because now you're like opening the door and you start recognizing fear again. And you're like, I gotcha. I already know how I'm going to deal with you, you know, and it just becomes a game, and you're going to be, yeah. That's how I overcome my challenges, by the way. I mean, I'm the queen of challenges, apparently. Like there's shit coming at me all the time. And I'm just laughing them off, because that's exactly what I imagine. I imagine like, oh, there it is again. Hello, hello. I recognize you and I recognize you and I know what I need to do with you. This is what I want for you also, okay? All right. So when you have an original thought, for example, I'm not good enough, you should be or if your thought is, I'm not good enough to be doing this, who wants to listen to me? You challenge that thought with, what is the real evidence behind the thought? I've helped other people in the past. I have valued experiences and I've been learning and improving. Okay. That would be a reframe. I may not have all the answers, but I have something valuable to share. My experience and growth matter. People want to hear from someone who is authentic and on the journey just like them. Sometimes we don't want to be told by all the skinny people, sometimes we want somebody that says, hey, I'm going to do it with you. Okay, I'm going to do it with you. Because you sometimes just need somebody in your corner. I mean, that's just another reason why I structured my mentorship program this way, because I wanted somebody to do things with me while I was doing it. And I didn't have that. I had to bite myself through this alone a lot. And it's hard to do alone. So I wanted to create a mentorship where I would be there for somebody to do that together, at least in the beginning. And then eventually they can do it by themselves, right? But in the beginning, when you don't really know which pieces should I do, what should I do, it'd be nice to have somebody who can quickly ask, right, in the Voxer message and say, hey, by the way, what am I supposed to do here again? What am I supposed to write here? What am I supposed to say here? Or this person answered me, what should I do now? Basically like the virtual outline, right? Or the coach that, like the best friend that's going to be there with guidance, okay, right there next to you. That's what this is all about. Okay. Step number 3, now after you are becoming aware of it and you challenged your thoughts of self-doubt, in order to overcome it, you need to also take bold action. You have to take the action, right? You have to explain, you have to do it. You don't need to feel 100% ready to take the action, but you need to start and you need to see progress, not perfection. You need to be able to do that. Pick like one tiny small step that you can do and do that consistently every single day, no matter how uncomfortable it is. I tell you, you will start realizing that it doesn't hurt and you are able to do it. Okay. Step number 4, build your confidence through consistency. Okay. That's where the meat and potato is. This is where it's at. You have to do it consistent, meaning daily. Consistent is not once in a while, it's daily. And I tell you, that alone is a big, big, huge struggle, especially if you're a mom and you're trying to do gazillion 50,000 things. It is really hard to keep yourself to do the things every single day. And again, that's where a mentor really comes in handy, a mentor that keeps you accountable, that says, hello, excuse me, you didn't send me your reach out screen prints today. Okay. And all day long, you're like, dang, I cannot go to bed because I need to make sure I send that. That's not meant to supervise anybody. That is meant to hold you accountable, and accountability is love. Okay? If you think accountability is pain, no. Discipline and accountability is actually love that helps you reach your goals. Okay? It means somebody cares. And when someone cares, you care for yourself also. Because some of us, we are having so many wounds that we don't care for ourselves very much. We are so much people pleasers that we are doing everything for everyone else. Sometimes you need someone that cares for you. And that is a paid mentor, somebody that actually cares for you because they care for your win. Because when you win, they win. Okay? So that's there you have it. Okay. The more you act despite of doubt, the more confident you will actually become. You do it over. You recognize and teach your brain new things. You recognize and recognize and recognize you are not going to die. If you send the message, you're not going to die. Okay? That's where it's at. Challenge these thoughts over and over and over and over again. All right. What small step, what comes to mind right now? What could you do today after watching this video? What could you do? Drop it please in the comments. I would love to know. Okay. All right. So when I'm going to explain to you real quick. When I first went camping, I told you about my mother died, and I decided how I wanted to make this walk it free movement, right? And I knew I wanted to really get after life. I wanted to make money in my business. I wanted to live life to the fullest, all the things, because I saw her dying and I didn't want to go down that same route, right? So what did I needed to do? I decided that I wanted more quality time with my kids because I felt like I didn't have enough quality time. So I decided to go camping with them, which I didn't know at that time I would fall in love with so much, but I didn't have a ton of money, right? I just started out. I had no idea. My kids were little, so I didn't really know if they're going to love it or not. And what I did, I just bought a tent. It was super cheap. I started going out, buying just a few little essential things, and I went, and I was so scared. was so scared. It was me alone with 3 little kids. I was like, how am I going to get the tent up? I bought one of those instant tents that actually made it work. The kids were super excited. We had the best time, okay? Best time. It was so great. From there, I ended up going multiple times. Then I did a tour all the way around Lake Michigan, which was great. Multiple campsites. Kids helped tent up, tent down, tent up, tent down. So from there, I realized like I had more experience, right? I started to realize how easy it would be to have a camper because I watched everybody. I was in the environment to learn. That's another thing where you have to put yourself in the environment to get secure, right? Where are you going to get security from? Just talking about it? No, you're going to get security by doing the thing. So taking the action. And when I started realizing how people were handling their campers, I was like, yeah, I can do that. If they can do it, I can do it. Okay. And long story short, I ended up getting a camper, and we ended up just last year taking a 2-week trip, just me, my kids, and my dogs, from where I live in Illinois all the way to the Grand Canyon, to Colorado and back. It was a 2-week trip, multiple stops. It was amazing. It was also, I was scared to death. There were parts of the country where I thought, like, if I'm going to get stranded now, I'm going to be pretty screwed. But, you know, the more, again, I told myself, the more I would put myself out in these situations where I would feel fear and find out how far I can just push myself, the more I teach my brain that I can do it, okay? And the more confidence I was building. So that's basically a story that you can take and use for yourself. Like what is it that you've always wanted to do? And how can you start? Maybe how can you start small, okay? All right, now to wrap this up, let's summarize really quick because this is a very long video. Let's summarize really quickly our key points. We have to acknowledge our doubt, okay? Then we need to reframe it, number 2. Then we need to take the bold actions and build confidence through consistency. So acknowledge, reframe, bold action, and then build confidence through doing the things, consistency every single day. All right, let me know in the comments now what you are going to take action on. What key takeaways did you have from this video? What would you share with other people? Drop it in the comments. I would love to know. Other people would love to know, because you know, they can see then if they want to watch the video. If you leave a comment, they can see if they want to watch the video too. And I could use some more views. So thank you so much in advance. So if you are ready to break free from self-doubt and start stepping into your potential, just do it, okay? Just do it. Check out my community, for example. It's the link somewhere. It's www.walkitfree.com/unite. That's a freedom tribe that you can hop into. There are also other things if you want a blueprint to try to kind of figure out where you are in your life. There's a success breakthrough blueprint that I have. That is www.walkitfree.com/blueprint. That's a quiz that kind of helps you identify on what area you are struggling with in your life, in your business, in your relationships. And yeah, I would love to have you send me a message and kind of let me know what you're thinking and where you're at in life. All right. Walk it free, my friends.